Happy Devil's Wednesday, the eve of Thanksgiving, and boy, do we have a podcast for you tonight. If you are a New Jersey Devils fan, this is the State of the Fan Address episode 32. We're at 32 episodes right now of this fine piece of podcast programming titled What More Hynes Can Do. I think everybody's asking about that. Also, we have a special guest tonight, hockey analytics guru Rachel Doerrie will be on. That's probably around 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So we've got her coming on to the podcast. Welcome, Nick. I'm a little exhausted from last night's Woo report in Times Square. I got to tell you, I kind of got sick because I'll tell you, we try to keep this show family friendly, but there were a lot of people smoking some grass in Times Square, and I was just sitting there. I got to lock into the studio waiting for Kevin Clark to be able to give me the green light to patch him in. So we did that little pop-up podcast, and I'm not feeling well tonight. But anyway, how are you?
Well, Sam, it sounds like you're asking me already to carry the podcast, and I feel like it's a little early for all that. I think maybe you should kind of give at least like 45%. Kind of give like a New Jersey Devils effort. I'm just kidding. I know they give it their all, but I felt like that joke was right there. I had to step it back because I know either the fans are either going to yell at me or somebody's going to yell at me. I don't want to get yelled at tonight, Sam. I'm sorry. I'm just going to apologize.
Nick, what more Woo can do? What can I do for you, Nick?
You could do a lot. I could use some lottery money. I can use another car, not a new car. I want another car. Like, if you can help me with that, like that'd be great. What can Woo do for me? We'll
sell T-shirts. We'll sell Let's Go Devils podcast T-shirts. Not only are we going after that $35 million private jet, we're also getting Nick Villano a new car. What kind of car do you want? Do you want a Toyota? David Decker, one of our biggest fans of the podcast, he's a Toyota machine. I think he's a GM at a Toyota dealership somewhere in New Jersey, but I'm not going to name names just because you got to pay up, Dave, if you want to be your company be mentioned on this podcast. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. If he could get me, I know the Yankees do that like Yankee car with the pinstripes and stuff. If he could get me one of those Devils cars, like maybe like the stripes and Devils logo on the front, I'll take it. I will take it if he's being generous this holiday season. This is, and we didn't even mention, Sam, this is the pre-Thanksgiving special. This is it's going to be rowdy on Facebook. This is like the biggest drinking night of the year. I bet you some of those after that Devils last night, bet you some of our fans are hitting the bottle a little bit. I don't know, Sam. It's been a rough go of things for the New Jersey Devils. I guess we'll just use that to do what I call the quote-unquote professional transition into Devils talk, because it's been a rough one, Sam. Those last two games, woof. That the last two games. We beat Detroit. Whoop de freaking do. No, the game against Pittsburgh on Friday and then the game last night against Minnesota were some of the worst efforts. And then the lineup that we put out yesterday and Saturday, that's the worst lineup I've seen. I think I'd rather have some of those injury-riddled lineups that I saw last year. I just did not like anything about that lineup. And I'm kind of confused of what the goal was with that. Jesper Boquist scored his first goal, which is nice. He got a little lucky because it went off a defenseman's stick, but if it didn't go off a defenseman's stick, it probably would have went off Jack Hughes' stick. So good for him. I'm excited for that. But besides Jesper Boquist getting a goal, I felt like the Devils just looked terrible. And that's against Minnesota's a bad team, Sam. They're bad this year. It's Zach Parise and a bunch of scrubs. Ryan Suter's having a decent year too. But the rest of that team, we played a guy on his first game ever in the NHL, a guy who had, I think, 909 save percentage in the AHL, and we only scored 2 goals on him. The strategy needed to be fast attacking, that Devils hockey that we've been telling you that we're supposed to be seeing by now. We've been supposed to be seeing for the past 4 years, but we were anything but. The shots were kind of meh. There was a lot of penalty taking in the worst possible times. It was just bad.
Yeah. And of course, it had to be Parise and Suter scoring those goals. By the way, just a little interruption. I already had my first screw up producing. I hit the wrong button, and yesterday's copy is on the Facebook Live, so I'm trying to change that on the fly right now. But anyway, so yeah, and again, I was hoping that they could pull out a victory, but the Devils seem to have trouble beating. I think they have trouble beating any team. But if they can't beat a level of caliber like the Wild, they're not terrible, but they're not good. They're teetering on that playoff spot, but it's so early in the season. I don't know. And I was, I liked the effort. I thought the effort was fine, but also there's that no goal controversy, or should have been a goal and this and that, but I thought the Devils played well. I think it was just, I think it's just one of those things. They got to keep plugging away. But Fitzgerald's upstairs now. What does that mean? Is anybody overlooking anything? You shared my article on that, and we talked about it a little bit on Monday. I don't understand that move. That move doesn't seem to make much sense unless it's one of two things. It's either they have something bigger planned and Shero needs his guy to do that, or the places where Fitzgerald usually fills his role were maybe in Shero's mind lacking, and he needed him to come back. Maybe he needed Binghamton needed something. Maybe he just needed he needed help with the scouts. There's a lot of things that probably falls on Fitzgerald's lap that he wasn't doing because he was focusing on coaching. But the facts say that the team is 0-4 when John Hynes doesn't have Fitzgerald. They're 0-4. They have no wins when no Fitzgerald on the bench. It's a small sample size, but I think it's 8 games. 8 games is a lot to not have any wins in, Sam. And I don't know specifically what Fitzgerald brought. I don't know if he specifically focused on things like maybe Nasruddin does, or obviously Melanson with the goalies, or if he was just kind of an overall second voice to John Hynes. But something just isn't clicking. Something needs to change. And I don't know if it's the coach. I wrote on Friday night that I thought that it's time to move on from the coach, but I'm hearing a lot of people say a lot of good things. A lot of people, including Rachel. I heard an interview with Rachel, and she is very high praise about John Hynes. And I'm excited to actually talk to her about that, because I specifically want to know what she's seeing that we're not. And obviously we're fans. And she looks at hockey from a different perspective, and we're emotional and yada, yada, yada. So I kind of want to take the emotion out of it. I just want to look at the numbers and see why the numbers that I'm looking at don't say what I think they say, because the numbers say that we're a terrible team and the system doesn't work, and we have talented players that are just getting railroaded and stuck in their own zone. So I want answers. I don't know when I'm going to get answers. But I want to ask you this, Sam. We had a lot of controversy when it comes to coaches this week. None of it being the Devils. Actually, minutes before this podcast, an apology letter came out from Calgary Flames head coach Bill Peters. I want to know if you think
this controversy surrounding Bill Peters and Mike Babcock and kind of the things that they made their players do, and these are the things that I don't think you'll ever see from Devils coaches, at least not under Ray. Do you think that helps Hynes' case? Do you think that gives him a little bit of time that the heat is on other coaches right now?
Well, there's one thing that Hynes has been consistent of is he's always been getting high praise from his players. They're playing for him. Obviously, I've never heard of one. I don't even know one player that says John Hynes stinks. From a player. I don't want to play
think
for
they
him.
say that.
No, but but
you get subtle things that from other teams that you don't get from the Devils. It specifically happened with the Minnesota Wild earlier this year with Bruce Boudreau. Like, players were saying things that you don't normally hear players say about the coach. And that means something. And I do think it means something that the Devils aren't saying this. And I think it means something that the Devils are taking all the responsibility. And so far in the media, John Hynes has not. I saw just 2 days ago another coach say, I lost this game. And you never hear Hynes say that, but you hear the players say that. I've heard Corey say it a lot, where he took responsibility for how he played. I've seen Green take it on the chin. I've seen Hall take it on the chin. I've seen Paul Mary take it on the chin. They kind of keep the younger players safe from things like that because I think they don't want to get in their heads. Like, you don't hear a lot from Hughes in that regard. I think they're coaching them how to do this, but you hear a lot of those veteran players kind of take it. And I heard Zajac just eviscerate himself the other day. And honestly, I expected a lot more of Zajac. I expected, if we got last year's Zajac right now, I think you could say if we have last year's Zajac, we have 2 more wins on there, and it looks a lot better. But Sam, right now, do you know how many points out we are of the last playoff spot?
No. Tell me.
It's 9. We are already 9 points out. It was 6 to like a week ago. 6 seems doable. 9 seems hard, Sam. And our hard part of our schedule is.
How far back was the St. Louis Blues last year? I'm not saying I'm not trying to compare the teams. I'm kind of curious. They were pretty far back, right?
I think it wasn't like anything ridiculous. It wasn't like 15. It was a really weird year for the West where a lot of teams were winning. And a lot of those really bad teams were in the East, like the Senators and Detroit and us. So a lot of those easy win. It's true. We won the number 1 overall pick. We had the 3rd best chance. It's not like, what can I say? We were bad. The Rangers were bad. There's a lot of really bad teams in the East last year. So the Western's getting a lot of points from them. I like I said, I know they were in last place in the West. They definitely weren't the last place in the NHL. And it's not looking good, Sam. I said earlier this month that the Devils have until December 15th to stop playing hockey like this. And when I said that, I meant that they've already fixed this and have started getting points by the 15th. But they're not. They're not getting those points. They're leaving easy points on the table. They're not winning games ever. They beat Detroit every so often and they'll lose 2. And then they'll beat 2 people and they'll lose 3. And like when you started off 4-3, you can't afford to do that. So I don't know, Sam. We're in a bad way.
Yeah, and tomorrow's going to be a tough game. Saturday is going to be a tough game. I know the Rangers aren't exactly, blowing away teams, in the NHL right now. But if the Devils can put 2 wins together, it'll change the dynamic. But just hold up. Once they haven't put a string of games together, it's usually like, okay, they win 2 and then then they lose the next 4.
Here's what bothers me, Sam, is this team is boring. Like, it'd be one thing if we're losing games, but like it's fast attacking hockey. There's still the turnovers, but they happen in different zones. There's chances in between. I feel like they're playing in mud. I feel like somebody forgot to sharpen their skates. It seems like that they have trouble. The passes are too fast, and they're having trouble holding onto them. They're just an abomination in the neutral zone. They give the puck away. I mean, Sam, the giveaways last game were 21-3. To 3. 21 giveaways to 3. I mean, I remember that Stanley Cup team, the 2012 team that went to the Stanley Cup finals. They got there because they were causing turnovers, and that's almost specifically the reason. They were so good at that forecheck. They were so good at getting in people's faces and getting that puck away from them and getting takeaways and forcing giveaways and knocking pucks off sticks and getting in the face of the star player and frustrating the other team. And I feel like this team needs to see that tape because they are playing the opposite of that. They're playing where they're trying tape-to-tape passes from one side of the ice to the other. They're trying a lot of dangerous passes. They're trying to skate through people. They're passing across the crease, their own crease. They're making bad decisions. They're holding on to the puck too long. It just seems like every decision they're making is the wrong one. And that only, I will say this, and this kind of opened my eyes a little bit that, I listened to the Puck Soup podcast today with Rachel, and she pointed out that, the coach can only do so much with the players. Once the players hit the ice, they have to put the game plan in place. And giveaways and takeaways isn't so much a game plan thing, especially when you have players like PK Subban and Sami Vatanen and Taylor Hall and even Nico Hischier. Nico Hischier's been in this league for 3 years now. No more giveaways. Kyle Palmieri, stop giving the puck away. All these players need to stop giving the puck away because that's killing them. They lost by one yesterday. Yesterday. They lost by 1 goal. As bad as they played, they lost by 1 goal. As bad as they looked, they lost by 1 goal. It is 55 minutes of awful hockey and then 5 minutes of the best team in the world. And if the Devils can outscore you in those 5 minutes, then great. They won the game. But, you were miserable watching it because the entire time they were pinned in their own zone and giving the puck away. And then for those 5 minutes, you saw flashes of greatness. And, I'm going on rants. I'm doing a Sam Wu rant right now. I'm taking your trademark. I apologize, Sam. But when I get revved up about this team and I see what I'm seeing and I'm looking for answers and I'm not getting them. So, Sam, I'll let you go.
Well, I don't know if it's the case on the bench, but from a fan standpoint, when I'm watching this team, I feel like the intensity from the players is equal to a beer league team. It's like they're there. It's kind of like rec hockey. You screw around, you do this, but when you really want to win, you put it all together. This and that. But it's just, I don't know. I mean, they show flashes, and again, when we say flashes of brilliance or flashes of grit and this and that, there lies the inconsistency. Why are they so inconsistent? Are they overthinking things? Are they holding the stick a little bit too tight? Are they confused? We also talked about accountability. Everybody, well, I won't say everybody, but a lot of fans want John Hynes fired. But at the same time, we have to look at Ray Shero as well. He put this team together. He hired Hynes, not Lou. And did Shero get the right players for John Hynes, or is John Hynes not the right coach for this team? And again, these are all questions I'm asking. I like to, brainstorm with you, Nick. I can't figure it out because on paper, this team should have quite a few all-stars, but goaltending is now You know, Hynes is consistent with this. This is one pattern that we just dissected. He'll go with the hot goalie. He'll go with the hot goalie, no matter who you are. He'll go with the hot goalie.
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense.
It. No,
that's what I don't like. I don't like that we only go off of. It seems like we're strictly making lineups based on who's hot, and that's it. Like, you change the lines every time you lose, and you keep the lines every time you win. Hockey isn't linear like that. Like, you can't do that. I'm not a coach. I've never coached. I played on the smallest level, like on the nothing level. So it's not like I have any experience in this. I've watched hockey for 25, 30, whatever, however old I am, 30 years. I've just learned to see what works and what doesn't just from a tape standpoint, but that only teaches me so much. So I will admit my flaws there. Saying that, I am watching this team make the same decisions over and over again. And you play the goalie that wins, and then once he loses, you take him out. And then you play the goalie that wins, and once he loses, you take him out. Play the goalie that wins, once he loses, you take him out. And then you're overplaying Mackenzie Blackwood. You know, he's playing back-to-backs to back-to-back. And then you play Louis Domingue 2 games in a row when you have time off in between. I don't understand that thought process. The thought process doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Nothing makes sense, which is why a lot of fans are they're ticked off over this, and it seems like it's the same old devils. Same old devils, and you know, I hate talking about that. And you know what? And in the age of sports betting, this would drive me nuts. That I look at this, you look at the stats, you look at this and that. John Hynes would drive me nuts. You know, if you're betting the spread, and I don't know anything about betting. I know you do, Nick, but just some of the moves. You know, you go in, you know, this and that. Now you have to be 21 or older to do this, right, Nick? I don't know anything about sports betting, this and that, and you know, you have to be in New Jersey or something like that. But
you could be in Pennsylvania or Connecticut. There's other states. West Virginia, I think, has it.
Okay. What happens?
I'm going to Vegas tomorrow, so I'll put a big old bet on the Devils just to lose some money.
Well, you know what? Maybe that's what fans should be doing, because there's one thing that you can predict: this team isn't very good. But
I will tell you this, Sam.
I don't know any fan that would bet against their team, though.
Because it's probably like I gotta look at the odds, but I think the odds are going to be ridiculous. I'm going to put $10 on the Devils to win the Eastern Conference, because if they make the playoffs, if by some miracle they make the playoffs, I don't want to play this team.
You know what? You can get yourself a new car.
Yeah. I don't know about the $10 bet. If I put $100 on it, I could probably get a new car. But no, anyway, because for the Devils to get to the playoffs now, they need 4 things. They need to find a consistent offense. Their defense has to figure out its issues, because the defense has the talent. We've seen Sammy Vatanen play really well this year. We saw Damon Severson play really well last year. I've seen times. I think that PK Subban's playing fine this year. He hasn't played like a superstar, but I think he's been fine. A lot of people are probably against me on that, but based on what I'm seeing, his only flaw is turnovers, and that's something that you knew he was going to do. He's been doing that since Montreal, when he was the best defenseman in the league, or one of them at least. So if you could get that to all come together, that means you're going to have masterful goalie. That's like peak goaltending in this league. That's how you get back into this. And you're going to have a message in the room that this needs to turn around, and it needs to stick. And that part we'll never know, because the Devils don't say what happens in that room. And I don't hate that. As a media member of my other job, I would probably hate that. But as a fan and as running a fan-sided site, I kind of like the guessing game a little bit. I don't know about you, Sam. I know a lot of people hate that we're so tight-lipped and all that, but I don't hate it.
Well, I think it's funny when Lou was doing it because you can his answers were great. So what happened to Patrick Elias?
What happened to Patrick?
Upper body injury. Like Lou was very frank. Just it was 3 words or less with him when it came to insider's information. Well, that's for me to know and you to find out, or I'm privy to that information, and that's all he would say, pretty much. Melissa Dawn writes, you can ask what John Hynes can do to better the team, he can leave. Melissa, going to be a
so
coach.
Here's what I don't understand, and this is why I don't get. I've been studying betting for the past couple of years, and this one doesn't make sense to me. The Devils are only 50-1 to win the Eastern Conference. The Sabres are 40-1. And I think the Sabres are just like a point out of the playoffs. The Canadians are 30-1. The Blue Jackets are 100-1. They're better than the Devils. Whatever. Maybe I won't put that $10 bet. That's only going to win me. Well, I guess it'll win me $500 for $10. I don't know. What do you think, Sam? Should I let it ride?
If I were you, I'd put $100.
Oh man,
I would put $100 because then this podcast will get a little bit more intense.
That'll win me 5,000 smackers. That'll buy me a car. Not a good one, but a car. It'll get me from point A to B. I could drive to Jersey. That'll be my drive to Jersey card to do the podcast.
You could, or it could be $5,000 worth of Uber credit. You don't
That'll
even
get
have
me
to
one
drive.
trip to New Jersey. One trip and back. I don't know. I saw those stories of the Uber people going 7 states away, and it costs like $1,200. Such a waste, Sam. Such a waste.
I like the one story this past summer when the Mets recalled an outfielder. I forgot who it was, and he took an Uber or a Lyft ride from Pennsylvania. I think he left the team when they were in Pennsylvania. I think it was on Syracuse, and took it from maybe from Allentown or Scranton, and drove all the way to Citi Field, and he arrived by the 4th inning, and then he hit a home run in the 9th.
That's funny.
Yeah,
I remember that story.
Yeah.
That was
it was pretty cool.
I mean, I love those stories. Those stories are great, but it's just funny. I was thinking about that. It's like, I wonder if the Uber driver realized that they have to drive back. Like, you take this 15-hour ride and you're like, oh, wait, I only get paid for the one way. But while he goes and gets Rachel, where I'm going to take a look at these comments, don't do it. I have a lot of people talking me out of this bet. I bet $500 on the Devils to make the playoffs. Oh, Tim, that money is gone. Just say goodnight, Frank. You asked what Hynes could do better than. Oh, we read that, Melissa. Let's see. Let's move up. Devils Twitter harassing Abby and Amanda to ask controversial questions. All right, John. So I'm going to talk about this real quick because I know a lot of people have been kind of throwing it out there. And first of all, guys, if you're going to bother Amanda, she works for the team. Like, be smarter than that. And if you're going to bother Amanda, bother Chris too. He also works for the team and he also has questions. And then why don't you bother Corey? Because Corey's doing the same thing. But I kind of get it. Because, we have Devils guests on this podcast. And I'm always real with you guys, and I'm never going to be anything besides that. But I'm not going to have Chris on here and embarrass him by asking, or worse, just put him in an awkward situation where he just says no comment. So I, A, get no content, and B, have now embarrassed my guest in a live podcast just on the 1 in 100 chance that he answers the question of what he thinks they should do with John Hynes. And John Hynes doesn't answer the question. I mean, Abby asked him a legitimate question about the giveaways, and what do you say about that? And he said, I'll let the players answer that tomorrow. And then they didn't answer it today. So, like, what are you supposed to do with that? Why would you put yourself in that situation? So, guys, like, lighten up on these reporters a little bit. Like, and I have no skin in this game. Like, we talked to some of these reporters, so I understand, but like, they're asking the questions that they know are going to get them a soundbite that they can use for their article. Why? What do you want them to write no comment in your articles? You won't read their articles. Like, you gotta. I understand the frustration because this team is bad and nobody is answering to it. I want answers too. I do, but I know I'm not going to get them from John Hynes. He's not going to give you those answers. That's just not. First of all, that's not how he is. That's not how the organization wants them to be. That's just how it is. That's the reality of the situation. It's an unfortunate situation, but what are you going to do? As a reporter, are you going to be the guy? I mean, we all talk about how much we hate the guys like Larry Brooks, and then once we don't get a guy like Larry Brooks asking these questions that aren't going to get answers anyway, then we get mad. So I mean, I think we just lighten up on the reporters, folks, and like especially on Twitter, because like Twitter can just be a terrible place to be anyway. So if we could just be nice to our reporters, ask them questions, ask them what they think. Because I've seen Abby, I've seen Corey, I've seen Chris Ryan, I've seen them all answer those questions for you. And they're the people who are watching every game. They're the people who are talking to the players, so they can kind of put those stories together to you. And by the way, they usually answer it on Twitter, free, getting nothing for them. So, Sam, be nice to reporters.
I'm always nice to reporters. I love Amanda Stein. I love Chris Westcott. Jeez, I don't know what's with the why these fans just go harping on them. They're reporting. They give analysis. They give opinions. They're the inside access to the team. Is that a nice plug for that for the team?
Yeah, sure. But here we have a guest.
Yes, we have a special guest. I'm looking forward to this interview, Nick. I got interested in hockey analytics a couple years ago. One of my friends who played at St. Mary's Shattuck in Minnesota and NCAA, and then he got hurt. But he went from brawn to brains, and he actually did his dissertation in something in that field, and told me about it. And the first thing I asked him was, I didn't think you were very good at math in high school. And he said, no, I just didn't apply myself. So anyway, but I'm looking forward to this because I'm hoping to learn a lot. Pleased to welcome to the State of the Fan address, Rachel Doerrie on the Bobby's Auto Care Hotline. How are you doing tonight, Rachel?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh, Rachel, we're great. Now, was that the longest introduction you've ever had coming onto a podcast in your entire life?
Yeah, but I was going to say, like, I was kind of waiting and I heard your reporter discussion. Do you guys mind if I kind of hop in on that for 30 seconds?
Oh, of course.
So I have friendships with 3 of the reporters that you mentioned, and Abby, Corey, and Chris. And I think it's important to make the distinction that they are not employed by the Devils, because there is a bit of propaganda when you are associated with the team. So that would be Amanda and Chris Westcott. But the vitriol that Abby and Corey and Chris see on Twitter, as if they are the ones that have an impact on the decisions in the front office, like it really upsets me, because they don't decide who goes on the ice. And the reality of it is fans want all these questions asked, and they don't realize that these people have to go to work with people in the New Jersey Devils organization every single day. And if they start asking these questions day after day after day, you don't think that access is going to get restricted, and then you're not going to have people to cover your team? Like, could you lighten up a little bit? I get you're frustrated, but holy moly, like, relax.
And Rachel, like, and this is kind of like a self-dig, but like, we're the New Jersey Devils. Like, it's not like we get like tons and tons of coverage and we have a lot of choices. Like, be nice to these people. These are good reporters. I want them to stay here because, I mean, we've had a major hole since Tom Galiti and Rich Scher left. And these we're getting a couple extra reporters now. So be nice to them. It's not hard.
And not to mention the fact that organization had Lou Lamoriello, who had basically a moratorium on media for the longest time. And now you're getting at least some access. Like, there's no way that Lou would have allowed an in-house media channel dedicated to his team. So you're getting a lot more access as fans than you would have 10 years ago. Maybe be thankful for that.
So, Rachel, if we didn't already anger our Devils fans enough by telling them to stop doing the things they were doing, let's anger them even more, because I listened to you today on the Puck Soup podcast, and at the very end, I heard an interesting nugget when you were talking about John Hynes and how you thought that he had a good system in place, and you thought there was something not translating, and that John Hynes can't force this into their heads. And if, for those who don't know, since I brought it up, Puck Soup is Greg Wyshynski's podcast. He's a big Devils fan. He works for ESPN. But anyway, getting back to it, I was just interested in that because I know it's almost unanimous amongst fans that the system doesn't work. But what you're saying is that you think the system works, but something else isn't.
Right. And I'll say this. I find fans, and this is not specific to Devils fans, like I live in Toronto, and let me tell you, if you think it's bad New Jersey, we have a whole different ball game up here. They're selective with what they read and pay attention to. So Taylor Hall a couple of days ago came out and said, no, John Hynes is a great coach and we have a great system, but we're not executing it. And then somebody asked him about preparation, which is what fans have been asking to ask about. And Taylor Hall said the coaches are prepared and the message has been consistent, and that's what we need. We are just not executing. So if the team's star player comes out and says, nope, the system is in place, the coaching is good, the preparation is good, we're not executing, like John Hynes is the same coach that coached this team on that improbable playoff run when I was part of the team. In 2018. Like, that was a really improbable run that required a lot of buy-in and work, as I can definitely attest to. Like, the system hasn't changed. So it clearly works, just the execution hasn't been there. So for me, that's more of a product of it's a player's focus, it's losing focus, it's making that pass, it's getting the new guys to buy in, and that a lot. When you have a team that has as much turnover as the Devils did this summer, specifically where talent's concerned, that takes a while to get the buy-in and everyone on the same page and chemistry. And like, it's not just going to show up and happen overnight, right? So I think that there's a lot of nonsense being directed at John Hynes that I don't necessarily think is deserved.
So, because I'm so good at this podcasting thing, you've made a lot of news this week on a lot of things that weren't New Jersey Devils related, and I'm not going to talk about it because, I don't know, I'm good at this podcasting thing apparently. But I did want to ask one quick question with the Bill Peters thing and the Mike Babcock thing. If Ray Sherrill was on the fence, or Josh Harris and the Devils ownership worth even thinking about it, do you think the fact that other coaches in the league have done things that are much beyond hockey things and are just look bad for the organization's things, do you think other teams' problems would buy John Hynes time?
I would say his contract extension signed in January probably buys him more time than anything else that has sort of gone on. I can speak to my interactions with John Hynes, and they have been nothing but he has the utmost class. And so I would be shocked if anything came out about him. I really would be, and I can't say that about many other people. And so I really don't think that it buys him time per se, because at the end of the day, Ray thinks that he's a good coach and his players think that he's a good coach, and he is a good coach. So I think that that's really the merit will buy him the time.
Okay. and honest to goodness, I waited as long as I thought I needed to write maybe it should be a different coach on the blog. And I wrote it over the weekend after the Pittsburgh loss because I felt like that was the one after losing that game and the game plan they went in with it. And then the lineup the next day where he sat Pavel Zacha and Jesper Bratt, it just kind of seemed like I didn't understand the direction anymore. And I didn't understand a lot of the things that were happening. But this is kind of touching on an earlier point. Do you think that maybe like Pavel Zacha was a 6th overall pick and Jesper Bratt was a rookie of the year candidate at one point, and they're both players that have at times shown that they can play really well, but now they're in the press box. Do you think coaches make those decisions to send a message, or do you think, because you have interactions with John Hynes, is this just he truly thinks this is the best lineup he's putting out?
I would say, without giving too much away, that John has research done on his lineups. Who is best suited for the lineup? Who is best suited for a matchup? Who's best suited playing with who? Like, he makes sure that the research is done, and it isn't just with his own opinion. There are probably 7 or 8 other opinions that he gathers from, including data, that allow him to make these decisions. I don't necessarily think it ultimately falls on him either. I think that he's very much a group-oriented coach in which he values the opinions of other people in the organization and gives them a chance to speak up and have their say. And he values that when the decision comes down. And I would say at this juncture, there's not a whole lot of New Jersey Devils that are playing well. And there are certain habits that Pavel Zacha and Jesper Bratt have, and they're different habits, but there are certain habits that drive coaches and their teammates absolutely crazy. And if they're trying to instill a standard of what they want in a lineup, and these habits are still kind of there, that's going to be something that is likely going to cost them a lineup spot.
So I want to switch gears because we only have you for a couple more minutes, and I know you got a lot of analysis to do on a just beatdown that the Toronto Maple Leafs put out tonight. But I want to switch gears to Taylor Hall because the Devils right now, at our last podcast, they were 6 points out. I had some hope. Now they're 9 points out of the last playoff spot, and it's looking grim because the hard part of their schedule is coming in December, and this was their easy part of the schedule, and now they're 9 points out. So if you were a person in the front office at one point and you saw the thought processes and you saw when they made decisions on when to make moves, do you think it's in the best interest for the Devils to just punt now and trade Hall while there's a maximum amount of teams still in it? Or do you think that it's in their best interest to continue to play Hall, hopefully he builds up some stats, and then trade him closer to the deadline?
I think they hold him for now, see if they can kind of kickstart him. Over his Devils career, he's been a point a game, but again, let's keep in mind that streak that he had at the back half of the 2017-18 season. He's not playing particularly well right now, and I am never a proponent of selling low. Although I will say in this case, they probably need to trade Taylor Hall because the way the team's going, it's unless he's told them that he is going to re-sign, which I don't know that he has, and I don't know that he hasn't. I would hang on to him, see if you can get him playing a little bit better or showing a little bit better where his numbers go up a little bit and you increase his value, and then you try and get a good package, because the reality of it is this team needs to build around Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes and Ty Smith and not around Taylor Hall, Kyle Palmieri, Sammy Vatanen, right? That's not the age group they need to build around. They need to build around the young guys. And you can maximize the value of your best player. I think that that's something that you need to do. So waiting is likely the option that will get taken. I would have to think, unless a package comes up that you can't turn down.
So, I mean, what do you think they can get? Can they get Bowen Byram from Colorado, or are they going to have to settle for Nikita Zaitsev? Like, how high can they ask for? Actually, you mentioned the Mark Stone trade on the Puck Soup podcast. Can they hit that high on a Taylor Hall trade?
No. No. Not
That
unless
hurts my
he
feelings.
I'm sorry. Mark Stone was and very much deserved to be a Hart candidate the year that he was traded. He was a Selke candidate last year. And Taylor Hall had an injury-riddled season last year and isn't off to a good start this year. So now we're going on basically a year and a half that he hasn't played up to superstar potential. The fact that he is not entering the prime of his career, let's say, like he's in the back half of the prime of his career, that's not ideal either. I would say the only way you get a bona fide prospect is if it becomes a sign and trade situation like it was with Mark Stone, where a team knows that they're getting a contract along with the player, because there is not a chance that someone's going to trade their high-end prospect or a roster player that is an impact player for half a year of a pending unrestricted free agent. That's not smart asset management.
Unfortunately, it's starting to become more and more clear that Taylor Hall, it's just almost impossible to keep him on this team. So, I don't know what else they can do here. Last question. I was looking on your Twitter tonight just to kind of see what you were talking about with this Leafs game. And you said you heard somebody talking about trading William Nylander. Now, what's it going to cost for the Devils to get William Nylander? Because I need some hope, Rachel. I need something. I need you to just give me a little sliver of hope. So just tell me what they'll want for William Nylander. We'll give it to them.
Can I tell you something? I would full out fall over if the Devils acquired William Nylander. And that is because of the knowledge I have of being there. I would be absolutely shocked. I'd have to see it with my own eyes for that to happen. The package, though, knowing how the Leafs kind of conduct and believe in William Nylander, it would have to be pretty large. Like, he's, in the last 12 games, been playing at a 90-point pace, which is that's a star caliber player. He's much better defensively than he gets credit for. He creates offense. He's good on the power play. Like, you're talking about an impact player or prospect, a first-round pick, and that is like the starting point kind of situation. So,
well, Rachel,
I see the Devils going after William Nylander. I could see them going after somebody else, not a centerman. We'll say that. I think they need to go after a young winger, and I could see that maybe if that presents itself in the Taylor Hall trade, that's maybe something that they pursue.
Rachel, you were one of the hosts of the Staff and Graph podcast. You had a podcast come out yesterday, just kind of on all of the craziness that is culture and hockey coaching and kind of the stuff that goes on. And you do that with Ian Tulloch of The Athletic. It's a good listen. Everybody out there, if you haven't subscribed to Rachel's podcast, you need to. Is there anything else that you need to plug, Rachel? Is there anything else coming up for you that we should be on the lookout for?
No, I just kind of I have the podcast, and I'm back in school and working for my university hockey program, which I absolutely love doing. So I'm pretty quiet other than the podcast and my Twitter account.
Yeah, I've seen you've come across my Twitter account a couple times, and it's always made me laugh. So that you got that going. But hey, you had a big day today, Puck Soup podcast, and then our podcast. Clearly the best for last, and I appreciate that, Rachel.
It's a great podcast day. I love a good podcast day.
I mean, we got to get them out for Thanksgiving. When you're sick of the family, or for American Thanksgiving, when you're sick of the family, you got to throw in a good podcast. But Rachel, thank you so much for coming on. We'll talk to you in the future, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you for having me on.
That is Rachel Doerrie. She has her podcast. I forgot to mention that in my expanded intro, Nick.
Sam, I
screwed up twice on this podcast producing. Like an idiot. Just like an idiot. I'm sorry, Rachel. I'm sorry.
Hey, listen, you know me. I'm the professional, I'm the professional podcaster over here. I'm putting the plugs in, I'm doing the transition. Sam, I'm getting really good at this. I'm sorry, I can't be that vain. But
yeah, I've actually got analytics of you plugging. You plugged at least 9 times in that interview. No, I'm just kidding.
I have a plug percentage of 57.3. Doing pretty good. But Sam, it's getting late. I think it's game time.
Ooh. Yeah, wow. It is getting late. Okay. Well, I think Facebook Live is humming along, so why don't I make the call and get Steve on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline. Also, before you, I got a plug too. Right now we're streaming live audio streaming on letsgodevils.com. We're also on Facebook Live, Let's Go Devils Podcast, Twitter, Periscope at Let's Go Devils Pod, YouTube Live, YouTube channel, Let's Go Devils. And we're on Twitch, and I think we added another follower on Twitch. So I think now we're to like seven total, Nick.
Anyway. No, we're gaming, baby. We're gaming.
I know. We're moving up in the world.
Tim Clark Callahan, while Sam's getting the guest, Shank Ostisbehere wants a trade. The Flyers are not going to trade their angry player to the Devils. They're not. They're not. If you're going to get a Devils Flyers trade, you're going to get one like the Devils Rangers trade a couple years ago, where they were selling hard and the Devils just gave the best situation, not to an angry player who is going to be good for a long time. That's not happening. So I'm sorry, folks. Shane Ostisbehere will never be a New Jersey Devil. Well, I mean, unless he makes it a free agency he will not be traded from the Flyers to the Devils. That's not happening. A lot of love for Rachel out there. I mean, Rachel's one of the best minds in hockey. If you don't know, she's actually going to get her master's degree, working at York, and she's going to do really big things. Not for the Devils, but for another team. She is going to do really big things. And, I'm excited that we had her on. I'm excited to get those brains on this podcast. Me and Sam, we like to joke around. I don't want to disparage us. We have hockey knowledge, but to bounce things off of people like Rachel and then to bring in a guy like Bryce, who's got that hockey knowledge, he's been a captain of a hockey team, and then to bring in the reporters who are looking in, and you bring the reporters who, they have that daily knowledge. It's interesting. And John, I really, really think that the Avs would make Byram available for the right rental. John, I know this is a couple minutes ago, but I do think the Avs would make Byram available for the right rental. They have Sam Girard signed forever at $5 million a year. They have Cale Makar for another year after this at the minimum. We have they have, Eric Johnson for a while. They have a lot of players signed for a long time. I know they got rid of Tyson Barrie this year, but that's because they just had an embarrassment of riches, and they still have an embarrassment of riches. I mean, what are you going to bring? What are you going to make one of Sam Girard, Cale Makar, or Bowen Byram your third defenseman? I mean, maybe they do. Maybe that's their situation, and maybe that's what they think. But I don't think that's what they're going to do. We got a lot. Makar, I love the kid. Yeah, I mean, Makar would be great. They're definitely not getting Makar. That's never happening in a million years. So I'm just looking for our guest's number because it is somewhere in my phone. Here we go. I found it. This is when you produce on the fly, and I forget to send Sam numbers. So I am sending it to him now. And hey, we can get back to talking about Devils hockey. Apologize for that, folks out there. But John, we'd have to add another piece than just Hall if we want a chance at Byram. I mean, after what Rachel said, I agree. I don't know that. I don't know the inner workings. I look at that Mark Stone trade, and Taylor Hall at his best was better than Mark Stone, but Mark Stone has been better over a 5-year period. So I don't know how teams are going to look at that. And I mean, Taylor Hall is doing us no favors right now because he's only getting assists and his goals are kind of interesting. I mean, he had the one where he was falling and he kind of just shoved it under the goalie's pads. I don't think a team's going to be too impressed with that. Especially when it's one of 4 goals. You know, he scored goals in 2 games in a row. That's getting on the right track. I think Taylor Hall is just coming back from a knee injury. And I think he's going to have a really, really hot January. And I don't know what that's going to do for the Devils. And I don't know if he's going to be on the Devils at the time. But he is value low right now. I still think the Devils could get a massive return for him. I still think the Devils could trade Sammy Vatanen the way he's playing right now and get a first-round pick. They can at least recoup that second and a third that they lost this year. There's a lot that can happen. They have Andy Green, and I think a team will pay. I mean, somebody paid a 3rd-round pick and Connor Carrick for Ben Lovejoy last year. So I think somebody, and then Ben Lovejoy retired. So I think somebody would pay for a guy as good at penalty killing as Andy Green. They'll pay for that. Do the Devils want to trade their captain and make him not a career Devil? I don't think so. But clearly I don't know as much as I think I do. So maybe they would. Maybe they're going to send everything that's not screwed into the Prudential Center. You know, the season didn't go like we thought it was going to go. Some of it has to do with the fact that Schneider was not what we thought it was. Some of it has to do with the fact that it's taking forever to the system and these players to click. But Rachel opened my eyes to a lot of things, just kind of listening to what she had to say. And I'm not sure what the Devils can do. I think it's beyond fixing. And that makes me kind of sad. I'm not going to give up on the season. I'm still going to watch every game. I watched every game last year, but I've run out of answers. Sam, I've run out of answers. Hopefully you haven't because you're about to play a game.
Well, while you were chit-chatting with Facebook Live and all of social media, then our next guest, I was trying to soften him up a little bit by chit-chatting because now I've come to new strategies to my I'm on a losing streak right now with the games. So I was chit-chatting with Steve, trying to soften him up, be like, oh, Sam's a likable guy. All right, maybe I'll let him win one, But I'm making a change. What more can I do to win? Right? So I changed up my little bit of my strategy on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline from Pucks and Pitchforks. He's a contributor. You can find him on Twitter at Faultline Hockey. Steve Palumbo. Steve, I gave you a long intro like I did with Rachel. How'd you
Very
like
much
that?
appreciated. Thank you, gentlemen.
Steve, welcome to the show. We got Twitter and Facebook on late and Twitch. We got Twitch on late tonight. So I'm going to get right into the game and get into the rules, and then we'll kind of go into some of the things that you've seen on the ice, Steve. So are you guys ready to play Wheel of Devil's Misfortune?
I guess I'm ready. Yep.
So what this is because I'm sad and I'm negative, and everybody on Twitter says that I'm negative. So I'm going to go full heel. I'm going to go, Seth Rollins against the Shield, The Rock shaking hands with Vince McMahon heel. And I'm going to take a Devils team that broke our hearts and I have the team right here. This is every number of players on the team. And we're going to spin the wheel, and it's going to land on a number, right? And we're going to start with Steve. I'm going to tell you that number, and then 3 clues about the player. And then you're going to guess who you think that player is, okay?
Okay. Yep.
And then eventually we're going to allow you to guess what year that team was.
Jeez.
And then the first person between Steve and Sam to guess the team is going to be the winner. Okay?
Got it.
All right.
I think.
All right, Steve, you're up first. We're going to spin. Oh, this didn't spin as much as I thought it was going to.
I got to clap. I got to clap like the crowd. Hey!
All right. So this player is number 16. So your 3 clues are he's technically from the USSR. This is country of birth. The year in question, hold on, it's messed up for me. The year in question, he had 38 points while playing every game, and his last name starts with the last letter of the alphabet.
Okay. So do I guess?
Yes.
Zubris.
Dinah Zubris is correct. Now, that will give you 1 guess, but I don't want the game to end after 1. So we're going to let you each go twice, and then we'll start guessing. So Sam, here's your spin. Sam's spin gets you on 23. I don't think you're ever going to get this guy, but I'm sorry, Sam. But number 23 played right wing. He played 3 games this season, and his first name was Barry.
Oof.
I literally have every player on the roster for the season, so rough spin.
His name is
Sam.
His name is Barry.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of say something funny. This season there was a Barry, number 23.
No, you're guessing of what season this was, Sam.
Oh, what season this was? 83.
One day you'll listen to my game rules. No,
83.
Sam,
What?
you need to listen to the rules.
Well, I was just following what Steve was doing.
You don't. Okay, so we're gonna go 4 times. We're gonna go 4 times total, and then you start guessing which team it is. But you're supposed to guess who the player is first.
Oh, Barry Talixon?
Yes, you got it right.
Oh,
Kudos. I would have never got that.
you don't know
Anyway.
Barry Talixon? Jeez.
All right, we're spinning. All right, so it's number 1 for Steve Palumbo. Number 1. I did not. Okay, so number 1. He is a player who played for both the Devils and the Rangers. He played goalie, and he's currently an analyst.
Weeksy. Kevin Weeks.
Kevin Weeks is correct. All right, we're going to spin the wheel for Sam. Sam, you get number 20. All right. Number 20 is currently a coach. He was known mostly as a 4th line guy, in this season, he had 12 goals and 12 assists at 33 years old.
This season?
No, Sam. The season that I'm talking about.
Oh, geez. See, that's why I'm misunderstanding. I'm taking you literally. Okay.
This season, when I say is the season in question.
And who is it? Jay Pandolfo?
It is Jay Pandolfo. Okay, so we've currently gotten all the players right. So, Steve, after this one, you can start guessing what team this was. All right.
Okay.
This next guy is number 10. He was just 23 in this season, but he still played 58 games on a Devils team. Couldn't score much, only scored 6 points, but how many years did he spend on the Devils? He ended up spending a total of 4 years on this team, parts of 5 years on the New Jersey Devils. Number 10.
So the only clue is he's 23. He's 23 and played 56 games.
He played 5 years on the Devils.
I know who it is.
The only person I could think of would be Rod Pelly.
Rod Pelly is correct.
No.
Oh, man. You guys are pulling it out for here. All right. Do you have a guess on what year this Devils team is?
You said they broke our hearts. And I know that Kevin Weeks only played a couple seasons in New Jersey. Probably 2008 or 2009. 2008.
Like, tell me what year the playoffs were.
I want to say it was that Carolina team. So on the Carolina series, it was 08-09.
You are correct. Sam, you lost again.
I did?
Yeah. You didn't understand the game. I thought this one was pretty straightforward, but anyway. Well, actually, no, you're not right. Well, I screwed it up. All right, I'm wrong. I messed up the game. It's the year before. I thought it was. Yeah, I messed up the game. So it's not. It's the year I picked. I'm mad because I liked this game. Damn it. Okay. So this was the year where the Devils lost 4 of 5 games in the playoffs to the New York Rangers after getting a 2 seed during the regular season. So we watched the Devils dominate the whole regular season, but the Rangers had our number, and then we ended up just getting slotted against the Rangers, and the Rangers just whooped on us, and it was sad. And I messed up the game, so I'm even more sad.
But isn't 09 the year that the Devils gave up 2 goals in the final minute and a half of Game 7 against Carolina?
I broke a TV that year, and I was like 11. 09.
That was pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah, I was 20-something, 22. It was not good. That was bad. So Steve, to make up for it.
Breaks my heart a lot.
Yeah. Steve, to make up for it, why don't you tell us a little bit? You put out a piece on Lou today. Can you kind of explain where you were heading with that Lou Lamoriello piece?
Well, I just kind of started thinking, like, if you look at just the voice of the fan base and the negativity surrounding it, and it just seems like the more things that the Devils put out there, the more annoyed, the fans get. And it's kind of got me to thinking to when Lou was in charge and you didn't hear a whole lot. The team was considered boring. It was all status quo, but the team was winning. And we liked it that way. And now it just seems like the team has taken a completely different direction. They're trying to be too cutesy about the product to try to, I don't know, hide the fact that the product on the ice isn't where it once was. So kind of got me reminiscing a little bit about, especially looking at what the Islanders have done and what happened with Toronto when Lou went over there. It just got me thinking about, how far this team has, tried to progress, but only fallen back and just become a shell of what it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I'm sure a lot of people out there miss the Lou years. We don't miss the Lou drafts, but we miss the Lou winning.
We do miss the winning.
So Steve,
I miss his press conferences, to be honest.
Although he was happy at that one Ilya Kovalchuk press conference. You could see smiles at a Lou, and that's weird because I think he feels like he pulled the wool over on the NHL, and that makes him feel good about life. Yep. So,
you know what? We should have Pucks and Pitch. Maybe I'll finally do my expose on Pucks and Pitchforks blog. The best Lou Lamoriello moments, like the jelly incident, the restraining order that he got, so Schoenfeld could coach in '88 Eastern Conference Finals, from a judge, his buddy in Bergen County, stuff. Some of the stuff.
Was that the same as the donut incident? Have another donut?
Yeah. That's the one I was referring to, right? But I think the one, there's so many things that Lou has done that's really like radical. You wouldn't think that a guy that's very straightforward and tight-lipped would be. I would love to, put something together like a long form, whatever, of like, his 5 best crazy moments, with the New Jersey Devils, or the coaches by committee. Like he's done a lot of outside of the box stuff before.
Oh yeah.
And that's what makes him
the innovator. He absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get to be a GM of one team for almost 3 decades by doing it by the book. I mean, I think that's pretty clear. So he definitely was an innovator. I miss a lot of the things he did. Like I said, the only thing I don't miss about Lou is his drafting. Everything else I miss. But I'm still one to think that we still have one of the better GMs in the league. Something's not working. And talking to Rachel makes me think that maybe I'm not correct about it being John Hynes. But the problem with that is that means that it's not going to get fixed anytime soon. So that makes me sad. And I'm done being sad for the night. So, Steve, on this sad note, I appreciate you coming on. I thank you for coming on. I look forward to your next piece and the one after that.
You got it, man.
Sure. We're just going to say the same loss because it's funnier that way. But thanks for coming on, Steve.
All right, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Take care.
Thanks, Steve. That is Steve Palumbo, Pucks and Pitchforks contributor. Yeah, I gotta do that write up about Lou. I mean, he's done so many crazy things, and now we don't have to worry about writing about him because he won't ban us from the Devils locker room now.
I don't know, Sam. You could still end up in the Pine Barrens.
Well, yeah, that's
he's still pretty close.
Or buried
not in
somewhere
Toronto anymore.
Buried somewhere outside of Nassau Coliseum.
He'll bury you among the stray cats underneath Meadowlands.
Yeah.
It was a good podcast until I screwed up the game, Sam. I apologize.
Well, I screwed up twice.
Yeah,
I screwed up the copy on Facebook Live, which I did fix on the fly, and then I screwed up another time. So, all right, well,
you know what?
Let's plug. We're about to end the podcast. We got to plug.
Okay. Real quick, I'll do my plugs first because mine will be quick. But today, it was a little later, so you might have missed it. But I put out the 5 prospects that I would trade Taylor Hall for in a package surrounding that player. Some of them I would trade 1-for-1. Some of them I would need at least a little bit something extra, but it's the 5 prospects that I would let be the main player in a trade. We got a couple pieces coming up for Thanksgiving in case you really want to get away from your family and want to read some stuff and you've already listened to the podcast. You got a couple pieces coming out tomorrow, but probably not much coming out Thursday, Friday, because I will be in Las Vegas. Just being real with y'all.
Oh. Well, I have to plug this Saturday, PJ Ryan's. I'll be there. I'm trying to convince Shorts Guy and Beer Baron to go, but we'll be there before Devils Rangers pregame podcast. Stop by, say hello. We're going to be on the first floor. And also, December 7th, Grant Marshall, Colin White, Tavern on the Rocks, 9 Wall Street in beautiful Rockaway, New Jersey. We will be there. And also tomorrow, I'm working tomorrow, Nick. There's going to be a Thanksgiving Woo report somewhere in New Jersey when I'm visiting the in-laws tomorrow, and I'm going to need to get away. Then I'm going to get away and do a little podcast in between. So when they say, Sam, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to the bathroom. I'm going to do a little Thanksgiving podcast. Things that we should be thankful for are the Devils. So something of that nature. And also, if the Devils lose 8-0 in Montreal on Thanksgiving, there may be a surprise Woo rant coming. But hopefully that doesn't happen. All right, let's end the podcast. Thank you. Special thanks to Steve, Rachel, for coming on to the State of the Fan address. Nick, how long are you gone for?
I'll be back Saturday.
Oh, you will? Okay. All right.
Quick cool. Vegas trip. Just enough to lose all the wedding money.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm sure your wife would appreciate that. Anyway,
she's going to lose half of it, so it's fine.
All right. So I'm trying to cue up the music here, but I'm having trouble. Oh, here we go. All right.
There we go.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Be thankful. Safe travels. We'll drop the podcast around midnight. Till next time, Devils fans. Let's go Devils.